I think a few things. So there's a reason that we talk about 5 keys to growth. We really believe that tactics, while incredibly important, aren't enough to create large-scale change or long-term change. And from that vantage point, you can even see, if you look at the for-profit sector, that often organizations that look really cohesive are cohesive because they're unified or united around profit, right? But when you peel back profit, there isn't anything else holding things together. And you can see it with groups that start to miss, like public companies that miss their targets, 2 or 3 quarters in a row. There's not usually a lot of patience from the shareholders to hold on to a leadership team in that way. So I'm not sure that a lack of cohesiveness or alignment is actually restricted to the nonprofit sector. However, in the nonprofit sector, you add something else onto it, which is there isn't this clear profit motive, right? There's an altruistic motive about increasing well-being or wellness for stakeholders. And that, I think, means that in a mission-driven company, you have to work harder to create something that's unifying, and yet what is unifying can be deeper. I don't know if I'm explaining this in a concise way for the interview, but I like this topic a lot.
Yeah, and I would say I think something that we talk a lot about, to answer your question, I agree. I don't think it's isolated in the nonprofit sector. It is part of a paradigm shift, and what is contributing to misalignment and distrust is politics, bureaucracy, and silos. And that's stemming from a hierarchical structure of do what I say, and a holding back of information, and a lack of transparency, and a promotion of competition. Now, we are not saying competition is bad. We love the idea of co-opetition, but in this new age, in this new world that we're all living in, people need to, we call it closing the distance, where the guard needs to be dissolved, it needs to be softened. And this is the idea of why it means so much to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to be real, to share, to open. And we see that nonprofits have been traditionally governed, especially larger nonprofits, in a bureaucratic political world, and that perpetuates silos. So depending upon the size of the organization, we see a lot of siloed competition, internal feuding happening because of that idea that we need to protect and that it's not safe to share. So that incongruency that Jeff was talking about we can show compassion to our patients and constituents, but we don't treat each other. I think that's really common in the nonprofit sector, depending upon size. Now, the smaller nonprofits tend to be more nimble, more entrepreneurial, but to Jeff's point, that's where the 5 keys come in, because it's so interrelatable that it's not just one answer to help them activate growth.